Crazy. All right, here we go. Wow, bet you didn't think I was coming from the side here. Just switching it up every day. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 5th Packers Camp Chat, following up training camp. We're chatting all things Packers, recapping all the news. And today I'm joined by Jim Owczarski. Did you miss Jim?
I think they did.
I
missed y'all. I did.
Yes, we missed Jim. So yes, as always, you can leave us some questions over on our Facebook, and I will be looking at them on my phone. So don't worry, I'm not texting. I am just looking at your wonderful, fantastic, very informed questions over on our Facebook page. We should also be over on Twitter and YouTube as well. So if you're watching us there, hello, we're happy to have you. Jim, let's scooch over just like a tad. How's that? Better. Trying to center up my shot.
I think they shame us into getting rid
double
of
microphones today.
Well, double microphones, and then I think the laptop was an issue last Facebook Live.
Yes, if you exclusively tune in for Jim, you'll remember our setup was a little bit different.
Yeah.
So now we've got 2 microphones, no laptop. The laptop is down here. It is why I had to fly in just a second ago. So I'll be controlling our stream over here, but I don't actually have to look at it. But yes, like I said, questions are over here. So let us see what is coming in. Gerardo. Hi from California. Hello. Dale hopes that we're doing well and having a great day.
It is. It's quite cool today in Green Bay. It's a nice little reprieve from 90 degrees, and actually I think probably close to 100 on the turf we stand on. So yes, thank you.
So
you're having
hot.
a good day.
I've learned it the hard way. I wore jeans last week on a really hot day, and I was sweating.
That was a mistake.
And pretending that I was okay. And today I dressed like pretty good for the warm weather, and there was less warm weather. It was pretty cool today. So anyway, enough of us. Natasha wants to know, how does the Packers offensive line look today? Anything stand out to you? I know David Bakhtiari in one-on-one drills today stood out to a lot of us. He went up against Zadarius Smith, and he lost twice.
Yeah. So yes, to follow that up, David Bakhtiari says he could not remember the last time he lost a one-on-one. I'm sure maybe when he was a rookie, who knows, but so he kind of joked. I wanted to remember what that felt like, and said he wanted to challenge himself the rest of practice, and he felt he did respond well. But no, it is that was sort of the oohs and ahs of the day, at least, was Zadarius Smith getting the best of the all-pro tackle in one-on-one rush drills. Now to the larger question of how good does the offensive line look? I mean, the run game is coming along. Lane Taylor says that all of the work they did without pads paid off with pads the last 3 days. They feel they're getting that zone blocking scheme. They feel the running backs are following along properly. It's hard to tell with protections. I mean, we have seen them beat. But also, again, with the practices, it's, they're trying to be good teammates. I think maybe the upcoming joint practices with Houston can tell us a little more. But yeah, the starting 5 is the starting 5, and there's still some rotation happening to give Bakhtiari, Balaga, Corey Linsley some reps off. So I think the games will tell us more, but you don't see like a huge glaring hole, at least with the starting 5.
All right, let's talk about injuries a little bit. Reese wants to know if Darnell Savage Jr. played today. He did not practice today. It's his 22nd birthday, so happy birthday to him. But the birthday gift wish of practicing, if that was his birthday wish, did not happen. He's been out. He had his wisdom teeth removed. Matt LaFleur was asked about it today. He didn't seem concerned for Savage's long-term health, but at what point does it start to get a little bit concerning? I mean, this is a rookie we're talking about here who needs as many reps as he can possibly get early in training camp, and he hasn't had any. He hasn't gotten out on the field at all. At what point should Matt LaFleur be concerned?
I think he kind of hit that point today. So just to recap briefly, Darnell Savage Jr. went right into the starting role alongside Adrian Amos in the start of OTAs and the mini camps. The coach admitted he thought he would be cleared yesterday. He was not. And then expounded upon that, saying Darnell Savage Jr. is going to have to now be worked back into the defense. His starting job is not in jeopardy. It's just a matter of getting him back up to speed, because now the more days you go, as a rookie, it's going fast, So I would imagine if he thought he'd be cleared yesterday, that day is coming. But again, instead of maybe jumping right back into it, it's going to take a little bit, with Raven Green and Josh Jones. Savage Jr. is going to have to get work back in.
Mm-hmm. So Joe wants to know how Trevor Davis has looked so far in training camp. So from what he's heard, he says that it doesn't seem like Davis has disappeared yet. I will go out on a limb and say that all of the wide receivers, for the most part, it's been kind of quiet from like a big, flashy receptions type of mentality. But that being said, we talked about in the past, there's going to be a lot of competition at wide receiver, especially in the Trevor Davis zone, sort of toward the bottom, where special teams might come into play as to whether or not a wide receiver might make the team in the first place. How has he looked? Does he look good enough to make the team?
Yeah, it's first of all, yes. I know early on he sort of bristled at the idea that he was only a kick returner. And I think this new offense, this new coaching staff has rejuvenated him to a degree. Matt LaFleur came in and said, look, it's a blank slate for everybody. And actions speak louder than words, and I think they've given Trevor Davis that opportunity to win a job as a receiver or at least have that kind of role. And to his credit, Trevor Davis has played well. You're right. I mean, the offense is lacking consistent splash plays. They're the occasional deep completions for touchdowns and the occasional one-on-one victory. But I would say Trevor Davis looks comfortable and has made some difficult catches because, frankly, Deshaun Kaiser, Tim Boyle aren't exactly the most accurate all the time. Trevor Davis. Look, Brian Gutekunst said, outside of Devontae Adams, it's a big group of guys. Now, I think we know who. It's Geronimo Allison, it's Marquez Valdes-Scantling, it's St. Brown. So I think Jay Kumro has moved up. Trevor Davis definitely looks good.
So Nick has a hot button topic that we haven't really actually discussed on our live stream yet. He wants to know, is Josh Jones still looking for a trade? And that is something that came up in discussions with Brian Gutekunst today, this morning. And Josh Jones did speak in the locker room today as well. Essentially, what Brian Gutekunst said was that it sounds like it's in the past, that it's kind of, they're letting bygones be bygones with this one. Josh Jones also seemed to have a similar mentality about it, and they're kind of letting it just be water under the bridge at this point. What did you make of what Gutekunst had to say, and I'm not if you heard what Jones had to say?
Yeah, I did miss the Josh Jones session in the locker room. That's why you follow PackersNews.com, JSOnline.com, because Pete Doherty, Tom Silverstein, yourself, Ryan Wood, everywhere else that I am not. But Brian Gutekunst, he said, look, he's here. He's made some plays. He got a first-team rep or a few today. He's been doing that hybrid linebacker thing. Look, the safety room isn't very deep, so the likelihood that he would have been traded was, to me, slim to begin with, unless he pressed that issue. And clearly, by coming to the mandatory minicamp, by showing up the first day, and it's, being, part of the team and doing what he's been asked, that's sort of been kind of a non-issue. And actually, I think Josh Jones, regardless of where the reporting came from, I think even he tried to shoot the trade request down back in the minicamp to a degree. So I think that's been walked back by whomever at this point. So you're right. I guess we'll still see what happens, right, over the next few weeks. But I think for now, it's kind of it's almost, this was like the end of that particular storyline to a degree.
All right, so the book has been closed, perhaps.
According to me, at
according
least.
To Jim.
No.
Jim writes the story. Dylan and others want to know about Rashan Gary. We've talked about him quite a bit during these live streams as someone who has certainly stood out early on here in training camp. He's clearly running mostly with the second string, if you will, behind Za'Darius and Preston Smith, but he's gotten certainly lots of looks up there with with the ones as well. What have you seen so far from Gary and just his presence out there on the field?
Yeah, it's interesting. He obviously a lot of interest being the number 12 overall pick and the first pick for the Packers. But also he doesn't have that pressure. I would say there's more pressure on Savage Jr. in terms of playing well all the time right away. Rashan Gary is being able to just sort of be. Does that make sense? And by doing that, has looked fantastic. In one-on-one drills, he has been explosive, powerful, all of the traits and things that made him an intriguing prospect. That has carried over to 11-on-11 drills. Of course, there's been some mistakes, but you just flat out see the athleticism, a variety of spin moves or rush moves. Where I think our Tom Silverstein was talking to an offensive lineman who just sort of assumed, hey, I'm going to get ready for the bull rush, and because that's what this kid's going to do. And Rashan Gary surprised him with a different type of move to get around him. So, we'll see what happens the way Mike Pettin uses him going forward. But, yeah, to date, I would say as advertised, athletically for sure.
All right. So along the defense, we'll move over a little bit to Kevin King because that's another guy that we've been talking about. It's the guy that people are very curious about. Alan wants to know, can Kevin King stay healthy? I want you to grab your magic 8-ball or your whatever those things are, your crystal ball. Thank you. Your crystal ball. Look into the future a little bit. I mean, he looks like he's been having a pretty strong camp. He's had a couple of interceptions. He's certainly got a lot of energy. He's a guy who seems to have a lot of fun out there on the field. But can he stay healthy? Availability is the greatest ability, as the cliche goes. Right.
Well, it's cliche because it's true.
That's true.
And he did say that was his focus of the offseason. But, I mean, on one hand, you can't prevent, frankly, catastrophic injury. You can't prevent those things. But at the end of last year, there were some soft muscle issues that cropped up. The shoulders, I don't know. You can work on them. You can strengthen a lot of things. And maybe you can improve your tackling form or the way you choose to, attack an opposing player to maybe not expose yourself. But the way the league is played, the way they want defenders to hit, you have to use your shoulders. So honestly, I don't know. It's impossible. I don't think Kevin King knows if he'll play 14 to 16 games. Obviously, that is their goal. That is their hope. And when he's healthy, like these 4 or 5 days of camp, he does look good because he is that good, to be honest. But he was drafted where he was because he was hurt. So we'll see. It isn't. My crystal ball is not very good.
You should go get a new crystal ball then, Jim. Come on. We'll move over to someone we haven't actually talked about very much at all on any of these live streams, not to my recollection, is Danny Vitale. Michael wants to know a little bit more about him. He's
the muscle man.
The muscle man,
yeah.
As Nathaniel Hackett referred to him. He said that the muscle man has been looking pretty good in practice. He also threw some credit over to Malcolm Johnson, who is another one of the Packers fullbacks, the only two fullbacks on the team. How have you seen Vitale being used in the offense? It looks like they're throwing both of those fullbacks everywhere. What can that add to an offense if you're a defense trying to figure out what exactly is going on?
Right. It's especially in this particular offense, it's very important because Danny Vitale, Malcolm Johnson, who's a converted receiver, in his college days, because they can catch the ball, they can be split out, empty a backfield. So they're that versatile. And Matt LaFleur, again, actions speak louder than words. And at the combine, Olivia, he told us at a lunch how important the fullback was to him. In Tennessee, they didn't have that. So he used Luke Stocker, who was a tight end. Essentially in that role, it is very important. It does create different looks and mismatches because ostensibly they're still quicker than a linebacker, but yet big enough to stay in for pass protection and then block those guys. And also, this offense, there's a lot of play action based on this, on what they do. And that guy, again, just lends to keeping the defense in maybe one spot or giving him a different read early. But my real question, Olivia, is So the muscle man was what Danny Vitale was called by Nathaniel Hackett. He went on Twitter and said, well, you could call me Muscle Marinara. But then a fan, when he was riding bicycles, said, hey, Muscle Man, can you flex for us? So he obliged. So can he be Muscle Marinara? Is that you can't give yourself a nickname.
I don't think that's how it works, no.
Right? So he's kind of has to be Muscle Man.
I think so.
Right? I mean, Aaron Rodgers loves the guns. I mean, they've got like a Instagram bromance.
It's funny.
Twitter bromance with that thing. So I don't know. I guess we'll leave it to you, Facebook. I think you need to tell us.
What's the official nickname?
Of Danny Vitale. Right?
Yeah.
Muscle Man or I mean, I can't go with Marinara because he like gave it to himself.
Yeah, if someone else calls him that,
I guess we have to. This is the deep, investigative research. I think we need to find out.
It's we're still in July. It's still early enough where not enough football has gone on that we are allowed to talk about these things. If anyone has a problem with it, you can take it up with me. But I totally see what you're saying there. But anyway,
these things fascinate me.
Good. I'm glad that we can keep you entertained on these live streams here, Jim. We'll move up closer to the offensive line, not exactly on the line of scrimmage. Next to the tackle, tight end. Tate wants to know if we've seen any formations where we've seen Jimmy Graham and Jace Sternberger, those two guys in particular, on the field at the same time. No. We've seen multiple tight ends.
Yes.
However, we have not seen Jimmy Graham, presumably the number one tight end, and Jace Sternberger, who is probably
the newest,
number 4 at the moment.
Yeah, no. They have done a ton of rotating. They have done a ton of 2 tight end sets. That combination has not happened to my knowledge. I guess I'd have to look back. So I guess we should throw it out there that maybe one of you have been checking Twitter, been in and saw one formation, but I would say generally it's either Lewis and Graham, Graham and Tanyan, Lewis and Tanyan. Jay Sternberger has come in with Robert Tanyan. Evan Bayless, actually, to be honest, let's not forget him. He has been worked in at tight end. So, no, not really. Sternberger, I will say this, for rookies, they like to say, hey, if you make a mistake, don't make it a second time, right? It was the other day, they ran a jet sweep behind him. He was totally knocked out of the play. The jet sweep was a failure. It would have been a tackle for loss. They ran it again later in practice to Jay Sternberger's side. He actually sealed the block. The jet sweep would have worked. So in that moment, like quite literally in the one day, you saw him improve. So, the tight ends, Tom Spilverstein and I talked about this in the podcast over at PackersNews, that we haven't seen too much tight end work yet. Robert Tanyan caught a deep ball today. They're out there, they're being used, but haven't quite seen the ball distributed to them very much. So, that's something to continue to watch for.
Interesting, definitely. On that note, as you mentioned the podcast, Matt has been asking here, where do you find the podcast? Jim, where do people find the podcast?
Of course, any place you normally would look for your podcast, right? Apple Podcasts, Audio Boom. Of course, the easy way to do is download, subscribe to PackersNews.com, the app. Be sure to get the app for sure. JSOnline.com as well. Probably the easiest places, but the Packers podcast, I think any place you look for podcasts, you can find it.
Yes, it is a fun time to listen to.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I started it. I won't lie. I did not get to finish all of it, but maybe on the way home I will flip it back on. I get to listen to Jim at work, and now I get to listen to Jim when I'm not at work.
I know.
It's a good luxury that I've got. We'll take a couple more questions here. Jason has been asking multiple times in our chat here, what do you think, who do you think will be the number 3 receiver of the wide receiving core to make the team?
Yeah.
Do you think it's Marquez Valdez-Scantling? Is it Equinemius St. Brown? Is it Geronimo Allison? Will Valdez-Scantling be the number 2 receiver?
Yeah, I guess if he can follow up to a degree, like what do you think a number 3 receiver is? I guess because now, look, in the old McCarthy offense, right, it was, I guess, Devontae Adams, then Jordy Nelson, then Randall Cobb, right? That's maybe how people thought about it. Or, it was Nelson, Adams, Cobb. This offense doesn't work that way. I mean, it's clearly Devontae Adams 1. But after that, it's supposed to be more democratic. These guys are going to be moving around. Yes, Allison fits better in the slot than, say, Jake Kummerow. But that doesn't mean Allison would be the number 3 receiver, or Valdez-Scantling is. If you look back at the history of this offense in L.A., San Francisco, Atlanta, Tennessee, you may have the number 1, like Corey Davis, Julio Jones, Brandon Cooks. The 2 3s are kind of close, and actually in a lot of these offenses, the running back sometimes has the second most catches. The tight end might have the first or second most catches. So I think we as in Packers observers, kind of have to readjust what 1, 2, 3 means, because it's not the same as maybe what it used to be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to get used to that. I'll take one more here. Juan wants to know, how's the backup quarterback battle going? Have you seen anything that's really stuck out that has made you think, yes, Deshaun Kaiser is number 2. No, Tim Boyle is number 2. Has anything really shouted out to you like, hey, this is how they're leaning? To me, I have not seen that so much yet. It's a little early, I'm assuming, but I have not really seen an indicator of what they're thinking when it comes to the backup.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. And like even Aaron Rodgers has had his issues operating this offense to date. And Manny Wilkins, we wrote about him the other day at PackersNews.com. He has earned reps, but he still looks like a rookie. He is clearly behind Kaiser and Boyle in just so many ways. But Brian Goodwin, I'll just use the general manager's words, the guy who's going to make that decision, essentially, the games. The games are what's going to matter. So, I think Houston, it sounds like Aaron Rodgers may not play at all. That's kind of the vibe we got today from the GM and the head coach. So I think those first few preseason games and the fourth one will mean a lot in determining that. Because, as of right now, they've both looked good at times. They've both looked the way they've looked at times in the past. So there's room to grow for sure. So, again, that's a hurry up and wait, I think, type of answer. But fortunately for Packers fans, hurry up and wait is next Thursday.
Hey, yeah. I think once they start playing games across the board, a lot more answers will come out. We'll be able to see what they actually look like right behind us here.
Yeah.
We're right at the scene of the crime. Yes, that's us. That's why you love us. That's why we're here. This is our job.
Exactly.
One last quick question I want to answer. I don't even really know if this is a good answer. Jason wants to know, are there still tickets for family night available? I saw an email yesterday that there are still some tickets, and I do not know if that was a direct seller that had emailed us. It was a PR list I saw. So presumably as of yesterday, there are still some tickets.
I would, of course, call the Packers, visit their team site. That's the easiest way to find out. But we will be there, providing, and if you cannot make it, follow us along on all of the various forms of social media, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram.
I don't think Packers News is on Snapchat, but Jim's on Snapchat.
I'm on Snapchat.
So you can follow Jim on Snapchat.
Try to have a good time.
You come for the behind-the-scenes scenes, but you stay for the coffee snaps as well. There's a lot of good coffee snaps if you're into that. So, I've trained him well. Follow us on all of our social media platforms if you haven't already. We're live tweeting all the time about practice, so you can get all of your updates at once from all of our beat writers and from myself. Make sure you're coming back to these little training camp chats that we've been having. We're going to be having them after all of the practices here at training camp. To be determined if we're going to be having them after the practices that are not open to the public. I think it's going to depend on how much we get to see, and we just don't know about that yet. It sounds like in the past, at least under McCarthy, some of those practices were entirely open to the media and they got to stay for the entire practice, but not all of them.
Okay.
So depending on how much of practice we get to see of those closed practices, we will let you know whether or not we're going to do one of these live streams. So anyway, that is all we're going to have for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time, and I'll let Jim entertain the people while I end the live stream.
Yeah. Again, I thanked my parents for this opportunity last time. So I will thank my wife this time.